Morning and welcome to the shed. Looking a bit rough this morning. Okay, so I've started the next project, which is the flower or plant pot, I'm calling it. So what I've done is made up a little form from 1/4 inch ply. It's not, the glue's not quite dry yet, so I can't start pulling it about. Yeah, so basically I cut the angles, cut four panes of ply. Got the angles correct, seems to be about right. Proportions are obviously quite important. Joined it using a little bit of balsa wood filler in the edges, and stuck a bottom on it. So the idea is to make a mould that will wrap around this fairly tightly. Otherwise, I'm going to use a hell of a lot of my silicone, and also have some kind of filler in the middle there as well. So it'll be a two-part mould, probably that way up. So that I can pour from the bottom. Yeah, that'll be it. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be a plain, no pattern, but I might add some of my leaf patterns and some beading and stuff like that as we go along. The idea being I could have 2 or 3 moulds using the same form but different varieties. So the more observant amongst you would have noticed during that time lapse that I had to stop and adjust my KREG jig. You have to set the depth here, and I cocked it up and didn't set it correctly. I had it set at, I don't know, halfway between a 1/2 and a 3/4 of an inch. Should have been at 3/4. I think it'd be alright. If it was a bit of furniture, it would be a nightmare, but if not, I just have to use some different size screws. I'm sure it'll be okay. Okay, so assembly time. I need my 2 side pieces. Sorry, screws are on the outside. So and so. And then these pieces are going to be here and here, or even like that. Okay, I'm going to switch back to time lapse, and you can watch me assemble those. I'm not quite sure how much of this you want to see, but at least with time lapse it doesn't take too long. You could actually let me know in the comments how much you want to see. That'd be cool. So that's the box, or the basic box, finished. Yeah, you might have noticed that it's important to have the orientation of these screws right, or you can't get to them. I didn't want them in the inside anyway, so I don't know what I was doing there. Okay, so that's my box. Hopefully this should fit in there with space all around. Actually, it's going to be that way around. I'm going to try and put in some wedges in here, not quite sure how yet, just to take up a bit of the space, because I don't want to use that much silicone, because that is a lot of silicone. Would be lovely if I had a nice sanding disc sander bench thingy. I could give that a lovely nice finish. I might route the edges at some point, but I don't know. Don't know if it's worth it. Okay, next step is to come up with something to create some wedges in there. Probably plywood again. So we're in experimental territory now. My brother gave me this stuff, which is a polyurethane resin, 2-part, 1-to-1. He ordered the wrong stuff basically, so gave it to me because he knows I do moulds. Thought perhaps I could do something with it. So what I'm going to do is mix up a bit of that, pour it in here with this at the right angle, and see if that'll work as a filler to take out some of my mould space. The only problem is I think it might leak. I'm not quite sure what the consistency of this is. Yeah, that will leak. I'll have to get some plasticine or something and put that in, because I've got a few little cracks in here. Okay, so I'll do that, and I'll switch to excuse me, I'll switch to the time lapse because I've got to put my mask on. You won't be able to hear me anyway, and see what happens. Okay, so that pour went quite successfully. Sorry, I got my mask around my neck. It's a lot easier to use than the silicone, a lot easier to pour. It's very, very light. I'm not sure if I added some silicone, some glass beads. I don't know if it made any difference, just to fill it out a bit. So that takes about 20 to 30 minutes to cure. So I'm going to go and get a cup of coffee, come back, repeat the process, and yeah. Might work. I don't know how heat resistant it is, but that doesn't really matter, because once I've made the mould I can then just pack it out with something else. Okay, coffee time. Okay, I've had my coffee. In fact, I've had a couple. First one, I managed to, when I was cleaning up the mould, I managed to flick a bit of my polyurethane resin into my coffee. So that one had to go in the bin. And then, so I've got another one. So I've actually done all 4 sides now. I don't know, because it's black, it's kind of hard to see that. But I've got a nice little wedge-shaped insert in there. Good stuff, this resin. It is a little bit thinner, which is both good and bad. It means it's easier to pour. It'll pour a lot quicker, but it does mean that it leaks. So I've got some leakage there. I've ended up with it all over my desk. I'm just waiting for that to dry. I'm not quite sure why that bit isn't drying, but yeah, these have. Weird. It gets quite warm as well when once you start mixing it up, so you don't get very long. It gets about, I think it's about 3 minutes. Okay, so next stage is, by the way, this does fit. So I'm going to put a couple of little dowels in here, which are going to be my filler points, and they will also lift the mould up off of the, lift the form up off of the bottom of the mould. So I'm getting a bit low on my silicone mix, and I tried to order some more and they're out of stock, so not quite sure exactly how far this video is going to go. The idea was that I would have a complete mould. I might have a half complete mould depending on how much I've got. Okay, so next step is to do those 2 little dowels, get that set up, see if I can do a silicone mould pour. This stuff feels as if it's pretty secure. Yeah, that's all good. Okay. So I've added the 4 little dowels that will sit on inside the mould, so that'll raise it up. Those will also become the pour holes and the breather holes when I actually go to start pouring the lead. So I'm ready to start mixing a mould. I'm going to go for 500 grams, starting off with 100 grams of the glass beads and 200 of each of me 2 parts of my silicone. Wish me luck. So I had some success with finishing the mould, or at least half of it. I had enough to do this bit. So if I line that up, yeah, so that fits in there. I had a couple of issues. One was that I could not get it out of this mould, so I had to, well, in the end I had to almost smash it apart. Normally I just undo the screws and just sort of leave it apart. But of course I'd got this polyurethane resin in there and that bonds. I didn't realise that. So I basically had to sort of use the vise, lever it apart, basically break it, but it seems to have broken okay. And now I've taken the bottom off, so the mould will sit in there, but like that, so I can fill from the bottom. So all I've got to do now is basically fill this up with some kind of filler and complete the mould top. So we'll flip it over, pour the lead, break it apart, we should be good to go. So we did have some issues, as I said. The polyurethane didn't quite set properly, or I didn't give it enough time to cure. So when I poured the silicone mould in, silicone into the mould, it didn't cure properly where the two surfaces met, so that made it sticky as well. So when I pulled it out of there, it was in a right old mess. I've cleaned it up quite a bit, so you can imagine what it looked like. So I'm not able to go any further with this mould for the time being because there's a delay on the silicone. It's going to be another 10 days before I can get hold of some of that. So we're going to have to put that to one side for the moment. I have got another project which I'm going to start, which I'll give you a little teaser for in a moment. But probably what I'm going to do is sort out a couple of things in the shed. One thing I need to do is sort out my hoover, which I'm using a shop vax thing, but it clogs up with sawdust really quickly. So what I've got to do is make a cyclone box. They're quite easy to make. It's basically two dustbins joined together with an in and an out, and that just captures the dust and stops it getting into your hoover because it gets clogged up really quick. So I'm going to try and do that. I'm also going to tidy up this mess over here. So I'm going to build a shelving unit for that side of the shed. I need to get rid of all my scrap wood, all needs to be stacked up, put some drawers in, that sort of thing. It's quite a big project, but I'll probably start just by building the basic shelves just to tidy things up. Probably won't do that on camera because my woodworking skills aren't up to muster. Is that the right word? They don't pass muster. That's it, I remember now. Yeah, so there'll also be a few fishing videos probably. Of course I might get the job that I went for last week, so then things will change, but we'll see. So it's going to be a bit different for the next couple of weeks, just while I get myself sorted out and get some new silicone in, but we'll try and use that time to tidy up the shed. So the next video is going to be me doing something with this. I'll let you see if you can guess what it is I'm going to do. That's something my brother's given me. Yeah, we're going to make something from that. Should be interesting. I'll probably make the mould box and get everything ready, and then as soon as we've got the silicone, we'll then have sort of two projects running alongside each other. Bit complicated because of the shape of the thing, but yeah, more about that in the next, or one of the next videos. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you can leave a comment, let me know what sort of content you like, that sort of stuff, that'd be really good. Thanks very much for watching. See you soon.